At the end of 2022, I made a video talking about everything that happened in the first year of Dying Light 2 and posed the question, can it survive in 2023? Based on how this year has gone, I can say that it definitely has survived and got even better. With all that's to come in 2024, I want to take a look back and review the highs and lows of year 2. The year started off with a bang due to the release of Community Update number 2. This was huge as it added legend levels, cross-gen play for Xbox and PlayStation, and improved ragdolls and AI. These features were things people have been asking for a long time, and they finally happened. As always, there were some bugs and glitches fixed to make the game smoother, but more started popping up as a result. The cross-gen play was nice, but at the time there was still no cross-gen save for PlayStation, so a lot of players were still frustrated. On top of this, the legend levels felt more like busy work to get a bigger number, as the bonuses didn't make a noticeable difference in your character's power. I have a whole video discussing legend levels and comparing it to Dying Light 1 linked below if you're interested. Alongside this update was the Bloody Anniversary event. It was fun as all you needed to do was cut off zombie limbs, similarly to the Bloody Summer event the previous year. The reward for it was all the items in the Rise bundle, which started a set of Dying Light 1 themed events, the next of which was the Dropkick Weekend event. The goal of this one was to just dropkick everything in sight and even gave you the items in the Brecken bundle. Both of these events were a ton of fun as the objectives were something specific and not just kill X amount of enemy types of events that came later on. About a month went by and people's interest in the game was starting to wane due to no new content other than the legend levels. A small hotfix and Easter event gave people hope, but it did not bring very many of them back to the game. While the Easter event was interesting and I did like the rewards, having to kill X amount of enemies with eggs was a very tedious process that ended up not being very fun by the end. Right after this, the first roadmap of the year released, showing what was to come in 2023. Most of what was listed did happen when it was supposed to, except for DLC 2, but more on that later. The next big update was released and called the Gut Feeling Update. This added a lot more brutality and gore to the game, as well as improved physics and combat. A lot of people were asking for this to be added, but I feel like it was more of a move to compete with the soon-to-be releasing Dead Island 2, which was praised for its new gore system. Yes, the physics needed to be improved, but I personally think it was a bit too much with the gore, and so did the YouTube algorithm for a lot of creators. Several other things were added like gear transmog so you could change the individual look of each gear piece instead of using an outfit. Weapon blueprints were added to the game that allowed you to craft weapons over and over again that would break if you weren't using the correct charm before it was changed. At the time, there was no other way to repair your weapons, so this was Techland's way of an alternate solution. Quests were supposed to be added to Techland GG, and technically they were, but the website was completely overhauled and the name changed to the Pilgrim Outpost. The new site added bounties of its own that would give you tokens to spend on weapons and gear in the armory section of the site. This was very confusing at first, but the overhaul was a very welcome change. Another thing with this update is that bounties were added in the game outside of the chapters that you would get to do daily and weekly. These were automatic and not something selected like the outpost or the chapter bounties. Also with this update came the Viral Rush event. This was yet another kill X amount of enemies, however it had to specifically be virals and you could only do it by cutting off or smashing their heads. They increased the amount of virals for this, but so many times you would miss their head and what you did would not count. It was a very frustrating event, although the reward was all the items from the Raheem bundle, which was nice. After this, another month went by with nothing other than a small hotfix and the first kind of crossover event. This was the Undead or Alive event, and yes, it was not technically a crossover since it was for all of Juarez Gunslinger's 10th anniversary and Techland made the game as well, but it did start the trend of putting in things that have the themes of other games for the crossovers. It also marked the beginning of the rewards not giving full bundles for completing the event, which made it less fun to go for the goal. The special weapon for the event was a shotgun that felt really fun to use and gave some indication of what firearms could be like when they're finally introduced. Before the next update was added to the game, we got some disappointing news that was honestly to be expected. DLC 2 was delayed until 2024, which then made the last part of the roadmap invalid, just like the previous ones were with the Bloody Ties DLC. Next was the huge Good Night Good Luck update that finally brought in fully roaming volatiles and improved the parkour. End-game players were very happy to have this, but not everyone felt so great about it. Now with the roaming volatiles, it made the game more similar to Dying Light 1 at night, but also made it almost impossible to do anything at night. As soon as you stepped foot outside of a safe zone, you were immediately in a chase because one or multiple volatiles saw you. This led to a lot of frustrating player deaths that really affected the new player experience since they couldn't enjoy it due to constantly dying at night. It has since improved slightly, and now you can get around without being seen if you're careful. Just check out AussieGG's video in the description for proof, but at the time, it was brutal. Another thing that was added with this update was mod.io integration for PC. This let community maps be accessible from the main menu of the game instead of having to go through the website and the dev tools to play them. The Bloody Nights event was also released with the update, and it involved you collecting valuables at night. With the new volatile system, it made the event very frustrating. On top of this, rewards were just okay. You got the Hakon's crossbow and a basic bolt blueprint, as well as the clothing that Hakon wears. This is very different from the Hakon bundle, which does give you the crossbow, but it also gives you fire bolts, a Hakon paraglider, and an outfit that was actually the exact model of Hakon. And if my memory is correct, you could even buy the bundle during the event, which surpassed the entire reason for playing it. The next thing we would see is another small hotfix that finally added the PK crossbow and its blueprints to the list of things that carry over to New Game Plus. This was followed shortly by the first official crossover event with The Walking Dead. I liked that Techland was trying new things, but this event was one of the worst ways to do a crossover with another property. With the normal goals of just killing 850 enemies, it was not very exciting and was extremely grindy. On top of that, there were daily goals that each gave you a comic book to cover that a lot of people never finished. This was because the event was only 1 week long and the quest for each day took a long time to complete without the chance of going back if you missed one of the days. The rewards were also very lackluster with Negan's Bat Lucille and a Sheriff's Hat gear piece. Also, if you did manage to complete each of the daily tasks to get the comic book covers, your final reward was a Sheriff's Hat charm. The charm had an effect that increased damage, but it was difficult to get for everyone and wasn't even included in the Walking Dead bundle. The bundle itself contained one of the weapons we got in the event plus 2 more and a Rick Grimes outfit. This was a massive fail on Techland's part, and although the crossovers did get slightly better, it wasn't by much. The summertime update came out next, although it was closer to fall since it was in September, but more on that when I talk about the Halloween event later on. With this update, mod.io integration came to consoles so they could now access the community maps, as well as new knife animations and a brutality level option. This is also the update that introduced DL points. At the time, it was not quite understood why this was done since they were able to not have this in the first game. A lot of people were suspicious about this due to the fact that Tencent just acquired Techland right before this. The DL points are not inherently bad, but it was such a drastic change from the way it had always been done for them before this point. This also brought the next crossover event with Payday. During this event, you would have to find Payday zombies to get red crystals, as well as loot Forsaken stores for them. It didn't really feel like you were heisting anything, and the rewards were the bundle weapon as well as the Dallas mask to wear. Before the next hotfix and crossover, a new roadmap was introduced that included a ton of things that people have been wanting since day one. The information said it was for the fall and winter, which has been confirmed by Techland that everything on the roadmap should be released by the end of winter. This includes the winter season, which does not officially end until March 19th, 2024. After this, there was another small hotfix and the introduction of the Vampire the Masquerade crossover. This one was extremely disappointing as there was nothing even themed to the property in the game outside of the bundles and vials that gave you different abilities. The goals themselves were also a letdown as you had to complete an X amount of bounties. It just made the event feel very lazy, as if no thought was put into it whatsoever. The rewards actually finally returned to giving a full bundle with the Banu Hakim bundle, but due to it being so bad, we never even reached the global goal to unlock the last part of it. It was later put on the Pilgrim Outpost website to claim, but it still cost some tokens. This event was released on October 25th, so initially I assumed it was combined with the Halloween event, but that was not the case. At the end of that event on November 1st, we also got the Halloween event and community update number 3. Now before getting into the tons of things added in the update, let's talk about the event. The event itself was fun, and seeing Baka again was pretty cool. There were a lot more banshees and hags all over the map, which made traversal and encounters a bit more fun and varied. Several infected started wearing generic costumes, which was a nice little detail added. As part of the event, you could purchase items from Baka, and the reward was the Nightmare Claws inspired by Freddy Krueger. The strange thing about the event though is that it happened after Halloween had already ended. I really wish that Techland had swapped the Halloween event and the Vampire Masquerade crossover so the holiday could occur during the event, and the lacklusterness of the crossover would be understandable with everything that was added in the update. Now onto the absolutely massive community update number 3. Weapon repair was finally added to the game at Craftmasters. This was a welcome change that people had requested, although repairs like the first game would have been better. The downside to this was that the Korok charm was changed in how it worked and no longer repaired weapons. This meant that even in-game players would still have to go to a craftmaster anytime they needed to repair their weapon. One good thing with this repair system though is that you no longer discard your weapon if it breaks. It just becomes inactive in your inventory and you can still repair it. This kind of defeats the purpose of the weapon blueprints though, but that may be a topic for another video. Enemies would now start dropping their weapons when defeated, which is a nice little detail and would allow you to get more as you play, especially early on. A couple of other things were added with weapons as well. You now had the ability to dismantle mods on a weapon, so you could put something else on it. I don't know why this wasn't a thing before this, but now it made keeping your favorite weapon even better since you could change it up if you wanted. A new rarity was added called Exotic, and these are red. They are above Legendary and include an additional perk. It is possible to find some ridiculous weapons, as I was shown some by someone to have around 1,000 base damage before weapon mods. I've yet to find one that good, but it is possible. Techland finally added the ability to replay the GRE anomalies, and this was huge because the fights were fun, but only being able to do them once was not. Now you can do them as many times as you want, with them being tougher and giving better rewards, like a chest that has a chance to give you an exotic weapon. Alongside this, new enemy variants were added to the game. You now have electric virals and biters that can shock you if you're not careful, and the howlers were reworked to be out during the day and summon virals to your location. This makes running around during the day even crazier now, since if you get too close to one you'll take damage and the screen will be distorted. Finishers were finally added as well, but they only worked on stamina drain of an enemy, which most in-game players had a hard time with due to killing things too quickly. This was fixed later to be slightly better, but more on that in a bit. Some of the other things included from the roadmap were the FOV slider on Xbox Series S, new knives added to the game, the ability to dismantle gear, new outfits, stash sorting, color grading improvements, bloom effect changes, and text chat on PC. The last thing included was a tweak to legend levels, which included increasing legend XP gained, increased buffs from legend skills, and the ability to exchange trophies, mutation samples, and military tech for XP, with the last one giving you the possibility of maxing out in seconds. This was a phenomenal update that gave us so much that we've been requesting. After this was another small hotfix and the final crossover event of the year with the For Honor event. This was the best crossover in the game so far, but it was not a great event. At first it was cool to see the different factions fighting each other, but in my experience it eventually led to only one enemy spawning at a time, and it got very boring very fast. The reward was nice as it gave you the full Berserker bundle, just like the old events I talked about more at the beginning of the video. The only thing left this year was the Winter Tales update and Gifts from Above event. With the event, the entire map is covered in snow, which looks amazing. Baka is back, so you can buy cool items from him, and you can even give letters to Santa to cause an airdrop to appear, which would be defended by a lot of the holiday infected. For completing the goals, you get a bow that uses deep freeze arrows and a decorative weapon charm. They also added a new objective of decorating a Christmas tree that when done would give you a new outfit. This is one of the better events in my opinion, even though getting all the items by yourself for the Christmas tree can take a lot of time, and some people may not finish it before the event ends on the 5th. There's also a new God of War inspired axe during the event that returns to you when thrown, and it is an absolute blast to use. Along with this event came the update I mentioned, and even more things from the roadmap were added. There are new enemy variants for the gas tank zombies that include freezing fire and toxic, a new goon that can summon banshees with a howl, and a new viral that can spit. New weapon types were added with the pole arms, which are spear-like weapons and are some of the most fun to use in the game. We also got nocturnal weapons which drain immunity at night for either being hit or hitting an enemy, with the trade-off being a damage boost, as well as a shuriken and exploding throwing knife. Finally, cross-gen saves came to PlayStation, which has been requested for a long time. The finishers were also updated to be easier to activate, and the Night Runner tools now carry over to New Game Plus. This was another amazing update that added a ton to the game. This catches us up to the time of this video, and overall for the year, there were definitely some ups and downs, but Techland came in at the last second and dropped us with the best things we could have asked for. The game has completely changed from how it was a year ago, and I feel like it's so much better now. People are coming back to the game for a whole new experience that is just going to get better as long as Techland keeps up with what they've done this year. Now let's look at what is to come and what's left on the roadmap to be added. The only things from the roadmap missing are the co-op missions, board quests, VNC Tower Raid, firearms, nightmare difficulty, community mod support, and the second anniversary event. As I mentioned before, Techland is saying that all of this should be added in the game by the end of winter. I really hope this is the case, as several of those would breathe new life into the game and give us more to do after completing it. You may notice that we haven't talked about DLC 2, and well, Techland hasn't either. We know that they're working on it, but there is no indication of when it will be releasing. Hopefully they'll give us some indication during the second anniversary event, but only time will tell. How do you feel this year's been for Dying Light 2? Are you happy with the way it's progressed? Also, what sort of things are you looking forward to the most, whether it's on the roadmap or not? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, have a happy new year, and I'll see you next time.